Tony Stark. A name synonymous with innovation, wealth, and a certain devil-may-care charm. Born into a legacy of invention and industry, Tony excelled, becoming a world-renowned engineer and businessman. He inherited Stark Industries, pushing the boundaries of weapons technology with cutting-edge designs. The world knew him for his lavish parties, quick wit, and seemingly untouchable persona. But beneath the surface, a brilliant mind grappled with the implications of his work. The weapons he created, designed to protect, were often used to inflict harm. This internal conflict simmered within Tony, largely unnoticed by a world captivated by his charisma. He was a man of contradictions, a charming rogue with a conscience. Little did he know that his life was about to change. The Afghan desert stretched endlessly, a sea of sand under a scorching sun. Tony Stark, in his element showcasing his latest missile system, exuded confidence. He believed in his creations, in their power to protect, but the desert held hidden dangers, a viper lurking in the sand. As Tony's convoy snaked through the desolate landscape, an explosion ripped through the air. The world dissolved into chaos, gunfire, screams, and the metallic tang of blood filling his senses. The Ten Rings, a ruthless terrorist group, ambushed the convoy, their attack brutal and precise. He found himself a captive, his world shrinking to the confines of a cave. The air hung heavy with the stench of fear and despair. Shrapnel, lodged near his heart, threatened his life with every beat. The world he knew, the life he had, seemed a million miles away. In the heart of this darkness, facing his own mortality, Tony Stark began his transformation. The journey from playboy to hero had begun. Imprisoned within the cold, damp cave, Tony faced his mortality. The shrapnel, a constant reminder of his vulnerability, ticked away like a time bomb. His captors, the brutal Ten Rings, demanded he build them a weapon of immense power. They wanted his genius, his expertise twisted to serve their cause, but captivity ignited a fire in Tony. He refused to be a pawn. Working feverishly, fueled by adrenaline and a will to survive, he secretly designed and built something else entirely. Not a weapon of destruction but a suit of armor, a mechanical marvel powered by a miniaturized arc reactor, the same technology keeping him alive. With each clang of the hammer, each weld of metal, Tony forged more than just a suit. He forged hope. He was no longer the man who dealt in death from a distance. This was different. This was personal. This was about survival, about taking responsibility. This was about becoming something more. This was the birth of Iron Man. The world celebrated Tony Stark's return. He had escaped the clutches of the Ten Rings, a feat deemed impossible. But the man who emerged from that harrowing experience was not the same. The near-death experience, the burden of captivity, had irrevocably changed him. Gone was the carefree playboy, replaced by a man haunted by what he had seen, what he had done. The face of the enemy was etched in his mind, their brutality a constant reminder of the destructive power he had unleashed upon the world. He vowed to use his resources, his genius, to atone for his past. He announced Stark Industries would cease production of weapons, a decision that sent shockwaves through the company and the global arms market. His board members were in an uproar, his best friend and business partner, Obadiah Stane, openly opposed. But Tony was resolute. He had seen the cost of war, felt it in his own flesh. He would no longer be complicit in the suffering. A new mission lay before him, one of redemption and responsibility. The world knew Tony Stark had returned, but it was about to meet Iron Man. Haunted by his experience, driven by a newfound purpose, Tony poured his energy into perfecting the Iron Man suit. The crude prototype, cobbled together in a cave, would not suffice. He worked day and night, driven by a need to right his wrongs, to protect the innocent from the horrors he had witnessed. The Malibu mansion, once a stage for extravagant parties, transformed into a high-tech workshop. The air thrummed with the sound of machinery, the scent of welding and ozone filling the air. The suit became an extension of himself, a symbol of his transformation. Sleeker, faster, more powerful, it was a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink. But as Tony delved deeper into his mission, he began uncovering a dark truth. Whispers of conspiracy, of betrayal, reached his ears. The very weapons he had vowed to stop were being manufactured and sold under his nose, fueling the chaos he was trying to contain, and the source of this treachery lay closer than he could have imagined. The realization struck Tony Stark like a physical blow. Obadiah Stane, his confidant, his father figure, the man who had stood by him and his father for years, was the architect of his misery. The evidence was irrefutable, pointing to Stane's involvement in the attack in Afghanistan, his profiteering from the chaos Tony had barely escaped. Betrayal cut deep, leaving Tony reeling. The man he had trusted, the man who had been a constant in his life, was the puppet master pulling the strings, manipulating events for his own gain. Stane's greed knew no bounds, his hunger for power eclipsing any loyalty or friendship he had ever held. The revelation fueled Tony's rage, but also steeled his resolve. He had been a fool, blinded by trust and his own privilege, but no more. He had been reborn in the fires of that Afghan cave, forged into something stronger, something more than just a billionaire playboy. Obadiah Stane had made a grave error in underestimating him. He was about to face the full might of Iron Man. The clash was inevitable. Tony Stark, clad in the advanced Iron Man suit, confronted Obadiah Stane, who had donned a monstrous suit of his own, powered by a twisted version of Tony's arc reactor. The battle raged, a blur of metal and energy, tearing through the Stark Industries facility. Stane, consumed by greed and envy, fought with the ferocity of a cornered animal. But Tony, fueled by righteous fury and a desire to protect the innocent, was unstoppable. The fight was personal, a battle for the soul of Stark Industries, for the future Tony envisioned. In the end, it was Tony's ingenuity, his compassion, that won the day. He outsmarted Stane, using his cunning and technology to defeat the man who had betrayed him. As Stane's suit crashed to the ground, a fiery demise for a man consumed by his own darkness, Tony felt a measure of justice. He had vanquished the enemy within, but the battle was far from over. The world needed to know the truth.